All right, live stream is setting up.
And it looks like we have 3 people in the waiting room.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started with this month's board meeting. Today is Wednesday, September 21st, and we'll call the meeting to order. Let's start with a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you. All right, well, let's start out each meeting with a review of our mission. So the mission of ECS is to educate each student to high academic standards using innovative curricula that will foster knowledge, love of, and respect for their environment and preserve it for future generations. We grow citizens. Our vision: every ECS graduate will be an actively engaged citizen, driving thoughtful change in the world around them. Just want to welcome and recognize any guests that we have today. I believe we have, did I see Katie?
She's trying to join. It seems like for some reason there's like a little hiccup. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Okay. All right. All right. Maybe once she joins, we'll give her an opportunity. I think she's going to speak out a little bit later, but we can circle back and see if there's any public comment from her or anyone else. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There are attachments in the agenda that was forwarded to the board. And so we'll just take some time to see if anybody has any questions about any of the financial statements and reports or any of the new policies or attachments. Latonya, are you able to scroll down just a little bit, please?
I had a question on the pregnancy policy. If we could we open that?
Yes. Okay, stand by. So my links are not attached like they were. So let me go and find that. Hold on one moment.
While Latonya is doing that, let me just circle back. I did not take attendance, but I want to acknowledge the board members that are here. So I saw Adam, Andre, I think is on, I heard him. Is Angela? Brandon? Kristen? I saw
Here.
Dan?
Here.
Megan is still out on leave, I believe. Meryl? I saw Meryl earlier. Sapna?
Here.
Sarah?
Here.
And Tiffany.
Here.
Thank you. Adam, while she's pulling up the attachment,
Okay.
what do you want to start talking about? What questions or comments you have about it?
Yeah, I just had a question. Latanya, if you could just scroll down to the next part. Oh, actually, now here I can see it. So, sorry, go back to the first page. Okay, so that kind of third paragraph about a teacher or a student who deviates from their normal growth and development pattern should be reported to parents. I didn't understand what that meant. Are we talking about someone who is known to be pregnant, or is this how we're suspecting they're pregnant? I didn't understand the meaning of this paragraph. I was hoping someone could explain it.
Yeah, Adam, I think that was in reference to it's almost if you're suspecting that there is an issue of some sort, it can be, might not be pregnant, but it could be. And so if there's a deviation from what would be considered their normal growth, looking into it, I guess is what we're saying.
Okay.
Do you recommend that we spell that out a little bit clearer?
I guess it was just a little confusing reading it because this is a pregnancy policy, and I didn't know if this was referencing pregnant students or something else. So maybe it's just me. I don't know, but it just seemed like a confusing wording. That's all.
I think it's referring to that idea, and especially the nurses, if they're suspecting that there is an issue. I think to acknowledge it with that student, because the sooner, if there is an issue, the sooner you get them with the care they need or the support they need, the better it is.
Okay, I think it's fine unless other people disagree.
No, I was confused too. I wasn't sure whose growth and development they were referring to in this. Is a lot of this boilerplate, or is this very specific to the charter school?
This we received from our attorneys.
Okay.
The one piece of feedback that I shared ahead of this meeting was an update to the language where we refer to the student specifically as she or her, and make it a little bit more gender neutral, or use the word student, just knowing that some of our pregnant students may not identify as being female, but are indeed pregnant.
We can take the policy and make those changes, Lisa.
Thanks. Were there any other attachments or questions within this section that the board had?
Hey, Lisa, this is Brandon. I was wondering if maybe someone from the administration could talk about, I see that we have a letter of engagement with Mardusel to perform an audit. Just wondering, I'm assuming this is an annual audit, though I did see the letter was referencing a second year. Maybe that's just the school year 2022 to 2023, but wondering if we could just get a brief overview of sort of the auditing requirements that we have to approve, and also in the selection of Mardusel, is this an accounting firm that we've used in the past, that sort of thing.
So I can jump in for a second, for a portion of this, Brandon. So Mardusel is engaged by ECS to conduct the annual financial statement audit. as well as prepare the required filings, which are filed with the Internal Revenue Service. They have been the firm that ECS has used since I've been here. So perhaps, someone that's been here longer can speak to that process. And I don't actually know if there's something perhaps in our bylaws or, that requires us to perhaps go out to bid and look for other firms at a certain point in time. So that's what I can share from my perspective.
Brandon, you're on mute. Oh,
Sorry, thanks. That's helpful. Just out of curiosity, when do we usually receive the results of the audit? I assume that's presented, to the board and the administration.
That's right. That will be presented in the November board meeting. And then the second year reference, that's actually referring to our financial or A133 audit. So that's the audit over federal expenditures. So anytime you have federal expenditures over 750,000, you would require a separate federal audit. So this is the second year that we've been over that threshold.
And is that higher expenditure of federal funds related to pandemic dollars that we received?
Yes, exactly. It's related to the PPP, well, actually, yeah, PPP loan, and then also the ESSERS funds that we received, the secondary, and then the ARP funding that we received as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Just a new board member, so wanted to get up to speed. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you just remind me which schools will be staffed with security guards? Was it middle and high or?
Yep. Thank you, Lisa. So Kellington's Protection Services, this is a group that a bunch of our local surrounding school districts contract with, not PPS because they have their own internal department, but this was on recommendation from our friends at the AIU in terms of just they presented at one of the safety conferences that ECS does attend, and as part of the safety grant dollars that all school districts, including ECS, will receive, this was recommended as one of the tier 1 safety measures to essentially qualify for these dollars, is to have some level of secured protection of school campuses. So to directly answer your question, Lisa, the plan is that this would be covering all of our campuses, but it would be one individual that would be assigned to ECS, and then this person would go to different campuses based on need. So the way that we'll initially kind of deploy that individual is we'll set a schedule for probably 2 days a week. That would be the middle and high campus, 2 days a week at the primary and intermediate, and then kind of rotating around on an as needed basis. But what's positive about this service is that we insisted that the individual will not carry a firearm, and it will be a dedicated ECS person. So we'll really consider this as an additional staff person. So less a security guard and more just another trusted friend and friendly, supportive adult to students across all of our campuses.
This may seem like a really odd question, but what sort of uniform will they be wearing? Because I think the appearance of that could have an impact on kids as well.
At least that's a great question. So that is something that I have confidence that we can work with Kellington around. I've seen them before, so they have a vehicle that just basically says, it doesn't look like a police car, but it basically says Kellington Protection Services, and then they wear like a polo that also has that. But upon request, which we actually we'll kind of talk to them about the ECS culture in our buildings. I'm confident that they'll be willing and ready to kind of adhere to whatever we would ask for to fit in culturally within our building, so it doesn't look like a security guard in even a uniform coming into the space.
Great, thanks.
Lisa, if you were speaking, you were still on mute.
I'm not, I was just pausing. Can you scroll down, Latanya, please? I can read the resolution if we don't have any other questions. All right. Resolution 2022-09-2069 be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the school that the consent agenda for September 21st, 2022 be approved. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we'll move into some updates. So I will turn it over to Dan and Angela and John and James for an update on our high school.
Well, the last time we met with the architect and our construction manager and ROs, we were at a point where we felt that the dollar value that they had assigned at the time of for those drawings at that time were sufficient. I can report that we follow 27 commodity markets and 4 labor markets through the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and about half of them are starting to come back down. They were on a pretty sharp incline over the last 6 to 8 months, but they are starting to recede. So that's really, really good information for us. And the only thing that I'm not really up to speed on, and I should have called John today, but I was just a really busy day. I don't know what's going on with regard to the zoning and our building permit application and any of the things that are happening with the local community. Last I heard, it was all going swimmingly, but it had not yet been finalized. So, John, do you have any information on that?
Sure do. So we went through zoning, of course. Zoning was received well. Our next hurdle in terms of the city is CDAP, which stands for, can I remember? Essentially, that's where the design is reviewed by a group of peer architects, right, Dan? And they will critique the design for how well it fits into the context of the neighborhood and so on and so forth. So our architectural design team have presented. They're ready. That CDAP presentation went downtown to Andrea, our attorney's office, for a last minute review. It's up next week, Dan. I'll send you and the team an invite for that, so we can watch that CDAP presentation. I don't think there's anything for us to do, but if you're interested in that, we can see some feedback. We are ready at this point. The bid specs are, the design is completely finished. The bid specs will be we'll start next, and we'll get out onto the street. In the middle of that is going to be a demolition, Dan, and I was chatting to the team today about when that demolition will be. Actually, we chatted to the executive board earlier this week around, middle of last week around that. So we can do a little celebration when things start coming down. But chatting to the team today, they're not worried, but they don't want to pull too much down too quickly and then have to mitigate the site over some wet periods. So they're going to come back at you, Dan. I'm pushing for demolition as early as possible. They want to drag their feet around maintenance of the site. So because there's some costs associated with maintenance of the site when we bring everything down. So I think I'm going to need your expertise in the middle of that.
Okay.
Actually, one of our board members wants to be involved in the bringing some stuff down. Dr. Tobias put his hand up when he said if there was a possibility of pulling a building down, being directly involved, he wanted to volunteer. So thank you, Dr. Tobias, for your commitment in that space.
I'm ready. I just need the detonator.
That's it.
And then the next update is just for strategic planning. So not a huge update here, but we just look forward to bringing back our partners with the Bayer Center for Nonprofit Management and the board on October 27th to do a bit of in-person work around the development of this plan. So we've got a date set for October 27th, and up to that date, our partners at the Bayer Center are talking to some of our local community friends, supporters, and individuals who have stake and interest in environmental charter school. So this is another step to the process of the data gathering. So we talked to parents, we've talked to staff, and we've talked kind of we're now talking more broadly to our stakeholders who have a connection to ECS. So that work will happen up to that October 27th date that we have with our board and our partners at the Bayer Center.
Hi, James, it's Angela.
Hi,
For that meeting on the 27th, do you want me to schedule, do you want me to put something on the calendar, or is that something that you or Peggy were going to do?
Thank you for that reminder, Angela. I can send that out. I missed that, and I thought that I did, but
it's okay. I just don't want it to sneak. I just don't want it to sneak up on any of us.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we will send something out so
Awesome.
if everyone can hold. When we're looking at a morning of October 27th.
I'll shoot you an email, James, of the handful of board members that had offered to help.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa, Katie was having trouble connecting. She is sending me a statement that she wanted you to read. So I am waiting for that, and I'll email it to you.
Okay. Yeah, I had sent her the link again, hoping that she could connect. I see that she
No big,
trying to
it just,
join.
yeah, it keeps spinning saying joining and it's not connecting for some reason.
Okay. All right. Kevin, I saw that you were on the call, so I'll turn to you for a PCO update.
I feel like we're in a time of rebuilding, which is beautiful and terrible and all the things that good things are. We're meeting at our last PCO meeting. We had a really interesting, like a mini SWOT conversation saying, who are we as an organization and who do we want to be? What would we ideally love to see as a school at ECS? And then we're going to finish that conversation hopefully on the 1st with what are the ways the PCO could stand in that gap between who we are and who we'd like to be. We're still open to having conversations around recruiting, and we had a good conversation with some folks around the table a week ago about how we can partner better with the school. I'm hopeful. There's a lot of good energy, but a lot of it's new. So that we encourage all the parents and administrators to please get involved as much as possible.
Kevin, about how many open positions do you have? I know the PCO rep is one of them, but the board rep is one. How many others?
There are, I think, 4 open positions on the leadership still. I think the communications person has a potential. The treasurer has a potential, and then there are 4 seats that are still entirely open.
All right. Katie was still having trouble connecting, but did send a statement which I will read. All right, so from ECSFT, school staff is happy that restorative practices are getting time and resources put behind them. In the primary and intermediate buildings, we've appreciated the staffing of additional specialist teachers. It helps specialists feel they're more a part of the school community and allows homeroom teachers to spend more time on planning and programming initiatives like environmental literacy. We are concerned about understaffing in special education in the middle school and ninth grade assistant teacher and paraprofessional. We hope we can explore solutions to get the middle school building fully staffed and are always open to negotiating the contract to support students and staff. This was sent by Katie Sukanik. Is there any other business before we move out of this section and move into executive session? This is a meeting where the committees will actually break out and have some committee meetings. Sorry, and the actual board. The actual board will meet together before breaking out and doing some additional work. So any other topics?
I wondered if you could comment at all on that letter you sent us from a parent of a special education child.
I will turn to Mandy. I don't know that we can talk about the specifics of it because it's a specific child. But we did receive a letter that was forwarded to the board, a mom expressing some concerns around her child's interactions with the child and other students and her educational needs. I did touch base with Mandy, who is following up with the parent who would actually already make an attempt to follow up with the parent. And I believe is going to reach out again if we don't hear back from them.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, Lisa, I think that's about all we can say is that I am continuing to reach out to that parent.
Hi, Lisa. Did you move to any other business yet? My apologies for jumping in. Okay, so when you're ready, I'm going to chat a bit about hearing officers.
Sorry, John, I totally overlooked that. Go ahead, please.
So it's okay. I just wanted to let the board know that traditionally at this point in the year, we select hearing officers that perform a function if we have something like an expulsion. Never done one of those before, but if we should or go through that, we're required to have a hearing officer that sits on the board. So normally speaking, that will just say by default that every board member acts in that position. And should we need a hearing officer, we would chat to Lisa and find out who's willing to sit in that role, as long as there's no conflict of interest or anything like that. So I just wanted to share that's the notion. If we, you notice the resolution up underneath, that sort of just makes it official. If anyone does not want to act in that role, please let us know and we can take you out of that list or off that list. Short and sweet, Lisa.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lisa, I just had one governance thing, if that's okay.
Hmm.
So some of you probably already know this, but one of our board members, Purnima, has decided that she is going to need to step off the board for time and personal reasons. So the governance committee wants to thank her for her service to the board, and hopefully she'll be able to get involved with us again at some point in the future.
Thanks, Adam.
Lisa had a comment, if it's appropriate to sort of make a new business comment.
Sure, go ahead.
First of all, I wanted to sort of say, I mean, he's not in attendance, but thanks to the Governor Wolf for providing the breakfast subsidy for the remainder of the school year. That's really awesome. And wish it could have also included lunch. I think that was a tall bill if you looked at the total appropriation. One thing that I was wondering about is I know we went through the pandemic and had free lunch and free breakfast, again provided by federal funding through the state. I was wondering, I know there's a threshold which I think used to be much lower but was recently increased by the USDA, where I think used to be 30%, but now if 40% of your students qualify for free or reduced lunch, that is something that you could offer for the entire school. I think it's called Community Eligibility Program, or CEP. I'm not sure where we are in terms of percentage, but we are not there if we haven't been receiving those particular subsidies. So wanted to just put it out there that when we're thinking about the strategic plan, perhaps there's a lot of benefits to having that. First of all, you're serving students who are their families have to qualify for low income subsidy or Medicaid, temporary assistance for needy families, or SNAP benefits. So you're serving that population, and additionally, you're sort of removing student lunch debt and some administrative burden in terms of managing the economics of breakfast and lunch. I also say that it's not from my understanding, it's not a guarantee that we would receive a breakfast subsidy again by the state. I think they utilized one-time federal pandemic funding on that. So wondering if we could think about it, or just kind of wanted to float the idea to the board, potentially, I'm sure in terms of enrollment, there's a certain weight given to a low income, or whether or not you qualify for that. But wondering, looking in where we were in terms of percentage, is it possible to partner with another district? Is it possible to look at our enrollment and recruitment? I know working with Allegheny County's Department of Human Services, we have a wide variety. If we wanted to increase recruitment for that population, or encourage people to attempt to enroll, we could. There's a lot of community members utilizing DHS services. Maybe there'd be a way to work with DHS family support centers or something like that to encourage, or at least put applications there, or say this is an alternative, another kind of school you might be interested in. Just want to, again, long way of saying, I think it'd be interesting to think about these things. Obviously, I don't know all the details, but would love to work with the administration to learn more, and maybe think about ways we could try to continue some of this subsidy, if at all possible. I'm sure it's easier said than done.
No, Brandon, this is John. I'm going to actually reach out to you if I can tomorrow, and sort of connect you on that thinking. I'd like to hear a little bit more. And then certainly we can get Nikki involved, our food service director, who is very, very knowledgeable on this, and in fact is going to come and provide the wider board next month with some board education around the food service program, what we do, its breadth, and where it falls short, to your points, and where we can push a little further. So I'm fascinated to understand what you might know that I don't, and so if it's okay with you, I'll reach out tomorrow and see if we can find a moment to chat, Brandon.
Of course.
Yep. Of course. And then Brandon, thank you for the comments there too, just in terms of the importance of food security for our students and young people. Just for to reiterate kind of what you said, for the benefit of the public too, enrollment is really critical here. So we for those that are eligible, and Nikki and her team are doing a wonderful job, but as much as we all as friends and adults within the ECS space to continue to encourage those who are or might be eligible to enroll in the free lunch program, that's ultimately where we get to that space of eventually reaching that CEP. So enrollment for those that are eligible. We want to make sure that we're pushing that as much as we can. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Lisa, you're muted.
Thanks. All right, so I will read the resolution in respect to the hearing officer request from John. Resolution 2022-09-2070, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the school that all voting board members may serve as official hearing officers for the 2022-2023 school year. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motions.
Aye.
So moved. Before we move into executive session, can I call upon John or Dwight to share a little bit about the Act 55 requirement, just to do a brief board education on what that is and what is required and who needs it and by when?
Yeah, Lisa, this is Dwight. I think Act 55 is a mandate from the state for all board members to have, and before, they've recently included charter schools in that. So it's like to have a certain amount of training as board members. And I think we found a couple different ways to provide this board with that training, which would meet the state need. And I think the idea is just to make sure all our board members across the state have a certain level of understanding of basic information about education and their role in that. So I think I have to defer to John. I know we had talked briefly. There is a set of trainings that I think we can set the board up with, which would meet that need.
Thank you. So we should check our mail.
Yeah, so thanks, Dwight. Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself and it's our mouse is not working terribly well, so I kept on missing the square. Thanks for sharing out. So my goal is to make it as easy as it possibly can be for each one of the board members, because there are some hours involved in this training. So I'll reach out to Lisa every time I see an option out there, and we'll go ahead and connect them to you as individual board members. So just forgive us as we send you these links that say there's an Act 55 option here at this particular time. So the idea being that we get everyone up to speed and compliant over the course as soon as we possibly can, but ultimately as flexibly as we can. So let us know. We'll check in again in 2 months if we're still considerably behind where we need to be. Then we can talk about potentially having our law firm come in and on one of these sessions where we have more time dedicated to committee meetings and potentially provide that training directly. So thanks, Lisa and Dwight.
Thank you. All right, can I get a motion to move out of this session and into executive session?
Motion.
Thank you. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.